Welcome to another episode of Home Built Workshop. Today, I'm going to make a set of guitar fret and dressing files. One of the steps you need to do when building a guitar neck, whether it's an acoustic, an electric, or a bass, a banjo, any sort of instrument that has metal frets, is you need to dress the ends. If you just put the fret wire in and cut it off, it's really sharp and raggedy and it'll slice you up and it'll not be comfortable to play. Now you can do this by hand with just a regular hand file, but I think a set of fret files that have a guide that'll run along the fretboard will be a lot easier. There's several commercial versions of these files available. Some of them go for up to $70. But I got a file, got some HDPE plastic, and a chunk of mahogany already on hand. I'm pretty sure I can make them for less than $70. So I'll start off on the table saw and I'll cut down a couple of chunks of mahogany. Then I'll slice up the piece of plastic the same size as the mahogany. Now I'm just going to mix up some epoxy, spread it onto the plastic, and I'll just stick them into place, and I'll clamp them together and actually hope that I don't have any epoxy in between. Now that they're clamped into place, I'm going to let these dry overnight. This is 5-minute epoxy, but I always like to make sure it's fully cured. It's not super warm out here in the shop, so I want to give it plenty of time to cure. Now I'll unclamp this. And they didn't glue together. That's awesome. I'll use my belt sander to sand away the epoxy and flush up the plastic with the wood. After doing a test piece, I figured out what I think is a good depth of cut to cut the slot that'll hold the file. I'll just make one pass on my table saw, then I'll nudge the fence over just a tiny bit and make a second pass to widen the slot. Now I've got my blade raised all the way up. I'm going to use one of these digital angle finders and set the blade to 35 degrees. After resetting the depth of cut and my rip fence, I'll just repeat that same process, only cutting the slot at an angle this time. Right there I've got just a snug fit. I think with a little bit of filing, it'll fit really well. I was looking around the shop before I made these cuts to try to find a test piece, and I found a couple of offcuts from a guitar. Coincidentally, it's from the same piece of wood, so it's the same width and the shape is almost the exact same thing that I'm going to cut these out to. So really I could have just used these, cut the slots in there, and it would have been perfect. So now I need to cut basically this same shape onto these blanks. Now I'll give that profile a good sanding using my belt sander. Now I'll just use a round over bit in my router to round over the edges. Now I need to get the file to fit well in the slot. I've got some other files and some sandpaper. I'm just going to work away at the slot and get this file to fit nice and snug. Now while I was filing this groove, I managed to break one of the pieces of plastic loose from the mahogany. I guess the epoxy didn't really hold as well as I'd hoped it would. I had footage of this, but when I came down to edit it, it was all blurry. I guess the camera really didn't want me to focus on this part. So I'm just letting you know, you'll see some screws in the rest of the video. I just drilled and countersunk up through the bottom and installed some screws to hold that plastic on there a little more secure. Now that I've got the plastic reinforced with some screws, not worried about it falling off, but now I've got a few little burrs from where I countersunk the hole. So I'm just gonna run that sole of this on a flat piece of wood, sand that flat. For the finish, I'm just gonna wipe on a coat of Danish oil. While the Danish oil is drying, now I'm going to get the files cut to size. I've got my length marked out, and I'm just going to score them with a grinding wheel. Now I'm hoping I can just clamp it down and snap the end off. And I'll clean up the ends just a little bit with the grinder. The last thing I need to do is epoxy the files into the slots. First I'll apply some tape to either side of the slot, and this will be to keep the epoxy off of the plastic. Next I'll mix up some epoxy and I'll spread some along the back edge of the file. And I'll just let the epoxy set up. Now that the epoxy's dry, I've got myself a pretty cool little set of fret end files. In case you're wondering or not familiar with the process of how you use these, I use the file that is straight to run along the edge of the fretboard and even up all the fret ends with the edge of the fretboard. Then I'll take the angled one and I'll run that along the edge of the fretboard, and that'll cut a 35-degree bevel on the ends of the frets. This is one step in making the neck nice and comfortable to play. So I'm pretty happy with the way these turned out. A couple things I would do different. I believe if I was going to make these again, I would forget the plastic on the bottom. My thought with those was that it was going to make it nice and slippery and slide nice and evenly on the fretboard. I probably could have got the exact same results without the plastic, especially if I use a wood that's not really that hard. I was worried about damaging the fretboard, and that's why I wanted to use the plastic. I don't regret putting that on there. It does slide nice and smooth, and it is really flat. I just think it was a little bit more trouble than I really needed to go through. But nonetheless, I really like these, and I'm really looking forward to using them. They've got a nice weight to them. I think they're going to be really sturdy and really pretty easy to make. Again, if I don't do the plastic especially, you could probably knock one of these out in about 30 minutes. So if you enjoyed this video with these fret end files, please give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you don't miss any episodes. You will see these in an upcoming episode very soon. That is a promise. You can also follow me on social media. I'll put all those links down below in the description. Also, if you don't know, haven't seen it yet, I do have a second YouTube channel where I put a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, things that I'm working on and stuff that's going on around the shop. It's called Inside Home Built Workshop. don't forget to head on over there and subscribe to that channel as well. I'll put a link to that also in the description. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. We like to try to work safe around here. Haley's helping me in the shop. We got our safety glasses and our earmuffs on, and we were using the table saw. Well, I was using the table saw. Haley was standing a safe distance away. Huh.
And we also looking at the camera, taking a picture with you guys.
Yep.
So let's do this.
Let's do this. What are we gonna do? We gotta get epoxy. I can't hear. I feel like I'm shouting because I got these earmuffs on.
Me too. We're shouting. We feel like it. Are we done doing the table saw?
For right now, we are. Yeah.
Okay.
What?
I don't know how that happened, guys.
It just. Ooh, that router's gonna die.
Posted on Instagram by Mine Hot Jr.
You mean Home Built Workshop?
Yeah, Home Built Workshop. And everyone deserves that. We are here for you guys to shout out some Instagram and new hops and new Instagrams. So we're gonna make new Instagrams and shows and videos.
We're gonna be posting a couple pictures on Instagram, huh? I'm doing it right now on the phone. If you don't follow us on Instagram, look us up, Home Built Workshop on Instagram.
Yep, and you also have to look down below on the Instagram. What was that called again?
In the description.
In the description.
Good thing I have safety glasses on. You almost poked me in the eye with that stick.
In Instagram. See you at my home.
Alrighty.
By the way, tell them that I'm gone and you'll be there anytime. Tell them that whole thing that I just said.
Okay, I will.
At the end when you're done.
I will.
So, have a shout out with us. Bye.